Play that CCN clip ready. We need it for the second.
Facts from the Clarendon correspondent coming through. No.
3. All the international stories in the folder. Go to 2.
Newsreaders all set.
Yeah, man, everything set, everything ready.
From Nicaragua to Morant, News Talk 93 FM has got it covered. Across the 7 seas to the 4 corners of the world. It's all captured on the 93 radar. 93.1, 93.3, 93.5, 93.7 and 93.9 on your FM dial. World News at 5 starts now.
Coming up in this newscast, Office of the Public Defender launches probe into circumstances leading to the deaths of 18 newborns at 2 of the island's major hospitals.
Opposition senators threaten to withdraw from Caribbean Court of Justice CCJ debate due to suspension of Senator Marlene murder. Deputy Superintendent among 3 members of the JCF charged with murder. Deputy Superintendent among 3 members of the JCF charged with murder of 2 brothers in 2001.
Now the details. The Office of the Public Defender has launched a probe into the circumstances that led to the deaths of 18 newborns at 2 of the island's major hospitals. The office says the investigation has already started, but declined to comment any further. The dead babies were among more than 40 infants infected in outbreaks at the Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James and the University Hospital in St. Andrew. There has been much public outcry since the Health Ministry confirmed reports about the deadly outbreaks. Claims of mismanagement and negligence have been levied by members of the public and some parents of the affected babies against the Ministry, the Health Minister, and the leadership of the hospitals. Some parents have also indicated that they are considering taking legal action. There have been renewed calls for Health Minister Dr. Fenton Ferguson to resign, or for Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller to fire him.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament Daryl Vaz says it is shameful that no one at the Health Ministry has been held accountable for the deaths of several babies at 2 hospitals. Vaz was speaking in his West Portland constituency last evening, where he criticized the ruling People's National Party for its handling of the deaths of 18 babies at the University Hospital of the West Indies and Cornwall Regional Hospital. According to Vaz, nothing has changed since the deaths, and it appears to be business as usual at the Health Ministry. He says no one has been fired, despite a report to the University Hospital of the West Indies chairman indicating that the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Marion Bullock-Dacas, took a Vaz to respond to the advisory of an outbreak from the hospital. Vaz used last night's meeting to kick off his campaign for re-election. He is seeking a 3rd term as Member of Parliament.
And founder of St. Patrick's Foundation, Monsignor Richard Albert, says former president of the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association, the JMDA, Dr. Alfred Dawes, should be given a national honor for exposing deficiencies in the public health sector.
He should be given a national award. He shouldn't be suspended or put aside. It's a man who is so clear about the conditions and has exposed them that it's for the good of the country, and especially for the poor who go to public hospitals.
Albert is also calling on the churches and civil society to come out in defense of Dr. Dawes.
I think civil society and the churches, they have to raise their voices in defense of a man like this, for defense of the poor.
Founder of St. Patrick's Foundation, Monsignor Richard Albert. He was speaking on the evening edition last Friday. In May, Dr. Dawes created shockwaves across the country after painting a picture of public health system that was on the brink of collapse, with hospitals lacking equipment vital for surgeries and doctors working in substandard conditions which pose a serious risk to patients and to themselves. And in a local newspaper article last Friday, it was revealed that Dr. Dawes' efforts to advance to more senior positions in the public health system was being obstructed. This move led to wide speculation within the Medical Doctors Association that Dawes was being punished for his expose of the poor state of the health service.
Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller last night steered clear of the dead baby scandal as she took to the political platform in western Jamaica. There have been increasing calls for the Prime Minister to weigh in on the deaths of 18 babies at the University Hospital of the West Indies and the Cornwall Regional Hospital. On Twitter, the hashtag #FireFenton has been trending since the health minister revealed that he learned about the problems at the two hospitals almost 4 months after the outbreak of a bacterial infection that resulted in the deaths of the babies. But speaking at a PNP mass rally in Petersfield, Westmoreland last night, Simpson-Miller stayed away from the issue, instead highlighting the government's economic performance under the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, among other matters previously reported. The Petersfield stop was the first in a series of 3 mass rallies the PNP has announced in the run-up to a general election expected to be called by the end of the year.
Opposition leader Andrew Holness, meanwhile, has demanded that the government apologize to Senator Marlene Malahoo Forte and immediately withdraw her suspension, which he says has no basis in the rules of Parliament. Holness says he has consulted with the leader of opposition business in the Senate, Senator Tom Tavares Finson, as well as Senators Arthur Williams and Kamina Johnson-Smith, and the Senator Caucus. And the consensus is that Malahoo Forte must receive an apology from the government. Senator Malahoo Forte, who was Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade during the 2011 JLP administration, was suspended for failing to provide President of the Senate Floyd Morris with a copy of a 2010 letter she said was received from the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council in London, offering to sit as an itinerant court in Jamaica if asked to do so by the government. Holness says if she does not receive an apology and the suspension is not immediately withdrawn, the government should not expect to see the opposition senators in Parliament. Holness, who was speaking last night at the party's Central Westmoreland Constituency Conference, also accused the government of wanting to use power freely. He says the opposition will stand firm on the CCJ matter, not to make a political point, but to stop the creeping dictatorship that is overcoming Jamaica.
And despite the opposition leader's call, President of the Senate Floyd Morris maintains that opposition Senator Marlene Malahoo Forte's conduct in the Senate warranted her suspension from the upper house. Morris insists that she acted in a contemptuous manner. He suspended her after she did not furnish a letter supporting her claims that the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council had expressed an interest in traveling to Jamaica to hear cases. Malahoo Forte made the claim in the upper house last week Thursday during her contribution to the 3 bills related to replacing the Privy Council with the CCJ. Senator Morris said he acted within his right as Senate President when he suspended Malahoo Forte, and he sees no reason to apologize. He also dismissed claims from the opposition bench that she was suspended in breach of natural justice. Meanwhile, Morris has confirmed that Malahoo Forte has submitted a document to his office. However, he said he has not yet read the contents of the document to determine if it is the letter at the center of the suspension. In addition, he says he will be hosting a press conference tomorrow on the matter to clear up any misleading information.
Meanwhile, the opposition Jamaica Labour Party senators have threatened to withdraw from the debate to replace the Judiciary Committee of the Privy Council with the Caribbean Court of Justice as Jamaica's final appellate court. Senator Marlene Malahoo Forte, who was Minister of State for Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade during the JLP administration, was suspended last Friday for failing to provide Senate President Floyd Morris with a copy of a 2010 letter from the Privy Council in London offering to sit as an itinerant court in Jamaica. In a letter dated October 26, 2015, that's today, and addressed to Senate President Floyd Morris, the senators say, in light of the treatment meted out to their colleague, the unnecessary and inappropriate actions of the Senate, the opposition senators will not continue to participate in the debate on the 3 CCJ bills until the suspension of their colleague has been lifted and appropriate apology given to her by the President. Senator Tom Tavares Finson, leader of opposition business, sent the letter to the Senate President today. The opposition insists that the rights of the senator have been trampled on, as, quote, there is nothing to justify her suspension.
Meanwhile, political analyst Kevin O'Brien Chang says Jamaicans are too obsessed with the Privy Council when there are more pressing matters to attend to.
Look, when they're trying to get over the Privy Council, when we have so many far more pressing matters in our country, in abysmal condition, physically, procedurally, thoughts are right in there. I mean, the British left us with the framework of a decent system, but the execution is abysmally poor. Now, surely logic says you get all these small things right before you go a big thing like doing away with the Privy Council. It's logic in reverse. And the spacious and sophistry, not spacious arguments and the sophistry I've heard about why it should be politicized by putting to a referendum, totally ridiculous.
In relation to the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, O'Brien Chang says Jamaicans cannot allow members of Parliament to make a final decision on the country's future.
Justice have the famous phrase. They say nobody has ever put it to a referendum before. St. Kitts did. St. Kitts put it to a referendum. The people had a choice and they said no. And how can you allow 88 members of Parliament, well, 63 who are voted in, and then 21 who are not voted in are going to decide the future of 2.7 million people? It's illogical and immoral.
Brian Chang says the CCJ is an illogical entity that does not exist.
They're really serious about this independence and we must be fully independent. Well, let's have a Jamaican final. That's an argument that people can say yes or no. But this Caribbean court is totally illogical entity. I say it's an illogical entity that does not exist. And we are putting our final court in its hands.
Political analyst Kevin O'Brien Chang. He was speaking on the evening edition with host Garfield Higgins.
And speaking on the same program, Monsignor Richard Albert says the CCJ matter should be put to a referendum for the people's sake.
The people have a right to be heard. Mm-hmm. We're a participating democracy. It's not just the iron hand of government choosing the future and the welfare of the majority of Jamaicans. This should go to a referendum and let the people offer their views on their own future.
Monsignor Richard Albert speaking on the evening edition last Friday.
Former Jamaican ambassador to the United States, Professor Stephen Vassiani, is supporting the offer by the United Kingdom to help Jamaica build a new prison. Responding to concerns that the offer comes with disadvantageous conditions, Vassiani says it is the nature of diplomatic bargaining for offers to be made with so-called strings attached. He says Jamaicans should not dismiss the main issue, which is the need for a new prison to improve the current conditions. According to Professor Vassiani, Jamaica should accept assistance to alleviate its human rights problem. The United Kingdom has offered the Jamaican government £25 million to build a new prison so that certain Jamaican criminals in the UK can be sent home to complete their sentences. The £25 million is about 40% of the money needed to build a 2,000 prisoner capacity, state-of-the-art facility.
You're listening to news on News Talk 93 FM. It's 13 and a half minutes after 5. A deputy superintendent is among 3 members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and 1 ex-policeman who have been charged with murder arising from a 2001 incident in which 2 brothers were shot and killed in St. Andrew. Deputy Superintendent of Police Mevrold Smith, Corporals Byron Anderson and Loria Gilvey, along with ex-cop Altimon Shakes, were arrested and charged following a verdict by the coroner's court. The 4 were granted bail in the sum of $500,000 and ordered to surrender their travel documents when they appeared in the Home Circuit Court today. They have also been ordered to report to the Constant Spring Police Station weekly. During a brief court appearance this morning, prosecutors charged that on March 10, 2001, Smith led a police team to a house on Whitehall Avenue in St. Andrew. It is alleged they knocked on the door, got no response, and proceeded to break down the lock. The police reported that they were greeted with gunfire. It is reported they returned the fire and the brothers were found dead with gunshot wounds. The police report that a shotgun was seized at the venue. However, prosecutors say there was an eyewitness in the house who witnessed the shooting and suggested it was murder.
Crime Stop Jamaica is offering a $500,000 reward for information leading to the safe return of popular photographer Nikita Thomas and his cousin Dwight Brown. Persons with information are being urged to call the police at 311. Crime Stop is reminding persons that calls made are anonymous. 37-year-old Thomas, who operated Nick Photo Works, and 42-year-old Brown have been missing since Monday, October 5. They were last seen in Cassia Park in St. Andrew.
A JDF major this morning testified at the Tivoli inquiry that Tivoli residents told him they had been prevented by gunmen from leaving the community in the days leading up to the operation to apprehend Christopher Dudus-Coke. Major Luis Cheveria said residents told him they were relieved that the soldiers were there because they were under constant threat and feared that if they left the community, their families would die. Major Cheveria, whose Charlie company was tasked with apprehending coke on May 24, 2010, says residents were allowed to go to work, but if they didn't come home, their families would have been in danger. The major told the inquiry that his company took charge of its sector at 3 p.m. on the 24th, and he saw at least 2 bodies on Chang Avenue with lacerations to the throat and other parts of the body. The inquiry, being held at the conference center, is looking into the circumstances surrounding the deaths of some 74 people during the operation to apprehend coke.
In news from the region, there was a minor clash in the Trinidad Senate recently between Trinidad's Finance Minister Com Imbert and Independent Senator Dr. Danai Sharma Hebir, an economist, over the 2015-2016 budget. Mahibir's chief worry was the $20 billion gap between current expenditure and revenue in the government's $63 billion budget, and he suggested a reduction to $50 billion. Dismissing the suggestion, Imbert said they would have to kill him first. Imbert said any cut in the existing budget would result in immediate negative growth, massive retrenchment, and a host of other social ills.
That's your local and regional news. For international news, we join the BBC.
BBC News. Rescuers have been sent to remote areas of northern Pakistan and Afghanistan hit by a strong earthquake, which is now known to have killed at least 250 people. The source of the earthquake was very deep, weakening its impact, and the authorities are hopeful that the casualty figures will not rise significantly. Saudi Arabia has warned of potentially serious repercussions after Britain cancelled a prison consultancy contract with the kingdom. The Saudi ambassador in London said there had been an alarming change in the way Saudi Arabia was discussed in Britain. A man has been killed and several other people injured in a suicide attack on a mosque in the southern Saudi city of Najran. Islamic State jihadists said they carried out the bombing. A Libyan man living in Britain has admitted in court to being part of an international plot to send weapons to Libya despite a UN arms embargo. The weapons were destined for Tobruk, where the internationally recognized government is based. The television comedian who's been elected president of Guatemala, Jimmy Morales, has started to formulate his plans for government. He offered support for a UN-backed commission whose work led to the arrest of the previous president, Otto Pérez Molina, on corruption charges. The two men left in the race to become the next president of Argentina have begun their campaigns for next month's runoff vote. The centre-right mayor of Buenos Aires, Mauricio Macri, surprised observers in the first round by achieving almost as many votes as the governing party candidate, Daniel Scioli. 11 members of the Belgian branch of the Church of Scientology have gone on trial in Brussels, accused of fraud, extortion and running a criminal organisation. A conviction could lead to the church being banned in Belgium. BBC News.
Broadcast Jamaican and Newstalk 93 FM now gear the news in the Jamaican language.
Good evening. My name is Kadeen Marshall and this is the news in the Jamaican language. Major Louis Chavarria tell the Tivoli Garden Commissioner inquiry this morning so the people them in the Tivoli community claim say gunman stop them from left the community a couple days before police and soldier come down there and look for Christopher Dudus-Coke. Major Chevaraya said the people them tell him that them being glad to see the soldier them, cause them being afraid that if them left the community, the gunman them would have kill off them family. Him said the people them could have go work, but if them never come back, the gunman them could have hurt them family. On top of that, him said on May 20, 2010, him and some soldiers see two body with them throat cut on the Chang Avenue, and it look like them body been dead for a long time. Crime Stop Jamaica I give out 500,000 to anybody who can give them some information on when Nikita Thomas and him cousin Dwight Brown there. Them ask anybody with information for call the police on 311. Police can find 37 years old Thomas around Nick Photo Works and 42 years old Brown from Monday, October 5. People been last see them in a Cassia Park, St. Andrew. One time Jamaica ambassador to America, Professor Steve Vassiani, said him support the UK offer for help Jamaica build one new prison. Vassiani said them deal are going regular, and the main problem is that Jamaica need one new prison and for fix up condition them with some of the prisoners them live. The UK been offered the Jamaican government $25 billion for build one new prison, and them said them would have send back some Jamaican who get locked up in and the UK come back come finish them sentence. News from the rest of the Caribbean. Barbados are going to keep the 8th meeting on transparency and exchange information for tax purpose this week. At the meeting, the country them are going to talk about how to report people and company when not pay them tax and how to put things in place to make sure so the people them pay them tax and some other things. The meeting will keep on October 29 to 30. This is the biggest international meeting in the world on tax, so nearly 127 countries are going to take part in it. My name is Kadeen Marshall, and that's the news in the Jamaican language.
Broadcast Jamaican and Newscast 93 FM just give the news in the Jamaican language.
The 5 o'clock Sports Roundup is brought to you by Newstalk 93 FM, life-changing radio.
Good afternoon. With your 5 o'clock sports roundup here on Newstalk 93 FM, I am Mikhail Drama Johns, and we begin with cricket. Following a 72-run second test defeat for the West Indies team at the hand of the Sri Lankans, Captain Jason Holder says he isn't of the view that his squad has an issue facing spin bowling. With a score of 80 for 1 at one point, needing just over 160 runs more for victory, the regional side had a collapse. According to the skipper, they lacked patience.
I just think our patience was lacking at a certain stage of the innings, and we probably didn't trust our defence a little bit as long as we probably should. Can't really say it's arrogant spin, but it's just a case that we just weren't patient enough and trusting our defence a little bit more.
As to the difference between the two sides, the young captain admits that whereas their opponents were more cohesive, his opening partnerships and the top order has been lacking.
I think Sri Lanka's top order batted well and our top order didn't. We were always struggling for opening partnership. We never really got it. And in the middle overs, the middle partnerships, we struggled again. Whereas Sri Lanka got some runs in the middle, their top order took the onus upon themselves and made the bulk of the runs. Going forward, we need to look at our top order, and hopefully our top order could put the onus upon themselves and score the bulk of the runs for the team.
While expressing that it is still a young side, Holder says from here on they will be looking to better judge what points of the game to be more aggressive or play a defensive game.
I think it's clear we need to work on a temperament. You know, at times we need to be a lot more patient and know which phase of the game's to hang in and which phase is when we could attack. Sometimes we may look a little rash, and then sometimes we may look a little too defensive. So we just need to curve, aggression with some defense and be a lot more selective.
Voice there of West Indies skipper Jason Holder. Sri Lanka won both tests, and the sides will next meet for the first of 3 one-day internationals ODIs. They will, however, be preceded by a practice match for the Windies versus the Sri Lanka Cricket Board President's 11. Playing their second test, Pakistan handed a 178-run defeat to England. Pakistan had scores of 378 and 354 for 6 declared, in comparison to their guests' 242 and 312 runs, respectively. The final innings saw Joe Root making 88 for the Englishmen, while Wahab Riaz and Yasir Shah bagged 4 wickets each for Pakistan. The third and final test begins on Sunday. Still on cricket in 2020 action, Afghanistan won by 6 wickets versus Zimbabwe. Host Zimbabwe had put up 153 runs for the loss of 5 wickets in their allotted 20 overs. Afghanistan then replied to 154 for 4 with 5 balls to spare. And for the women, the West Indies women earned their third win of their 4-match one-day international ODI series versus Pakistan over the weekend. Second at the crease, the regional ladies made their target of 183 at the expense of 4 wickets with a 46 balls on board. Host Pakistan had made 182 for 5 in their allotted 50 overs in what was the 4th and final game, and that therefore means the West Indies women won the series 3-1. And moving on to football, Jose Mourinho has been charged with misconduct by the Football Association FA. This follows his language and behavior in Chelsea's 2-1 defeat by West Ham United in the English Premier League EPL. Meanwhile, both clubs have been charged for failing to control their players and have until October 29 to respond. Chelsea are meanwhile already facing a £25,000 fine for receiving more than 5 bookings in the EPL loss. And Arsenal have also been fined, this time the fee being $60,000, and they have also been warned about their future conduct by the FA after breaching football agents' regulations over the transfer of Callum Chambers. The FA described the incident as fronting, where an unauthorized and unlicensed agent is involved. Arsenal say they acted in good faith, and the FA recognized that they had no intention to mislead. Meanwhile, Everton defender Phil Jagielka will be out for 2 months with the knee injury he suffered in the game versus Arsenal. The 33-year-old suffered the injury in a challenge with fellow England international Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and he will miss his country's friendlies against Spain and France next month. And finally, in tennis, second seed Gabin Muguruza of Spain marked her debut in the WTA finals with a 6-3, 7-6 victory over Lucy Safarova in Singapore. The 22-year-old world number 3 is the first Spaniard to play in the event since Arantxa Sanchez Vicario in 2001. Meanwhile, 6th seed Angelique Kerber beat world number 5 Petra Vitova 6-2, 7-6 for her second win in 7 matches at the season-ending event. World number 1 Serena Williams is meanwhile absent as she recovers from injury. And that's it for the 5 o'clock sports roundup here on Newstalk 93 FM. I am Mikhail Drama Johns saying stay tuned for the business news and weather report.
The 5 o'clock sports roundup was brought to you by Newstalk 93 FM, life-changing sports radio.
And at 29 minutes after 5, business news. On the local stock market, the index advanced by 2,402 points today to close at 126,381.42. The junior market also advanced by 5.59 to close at 1,316.24. Market activity resulted from trading in 36 stocks, of which 23 advanced, 6 declined, and 7 traded firm. Market volume amounted to 9.8 million units, valued at over $29.8 million. Siboney Group was today's volume leader. Stocks advancing: Access Financial, Barita, Berger Paints, Blue Power, Carib Cement, Carib Flavors, Carreras, Consolidated Bakeries, Derrimont Trading, Gleaner, Honeybun, Broilers, Lasco Distributors, Lasco Financial, Lime, Mayberry, NCB, Pan Jam Investment, Pulse Investments, Sagicor Group, Sagicor Real Estate, Scotia Group, and Supreme Ventures. Stocks declining: Caribbean Producers, Siboney Group, General Accident, Jamaica Teas, Lasco, and Proven Investments. On the foreign exchange market, the US dollar closed at $119.68, the pound sterling $183.70, the Canadian dollar $91.20, and the euro $132. That's business news.
And now we take a look at the weather. There is a trough to the east of Jamaica, which is expected to move further east. The trough will be induced across the Western Caribbean and Jamaica tomorrow as the remnant of Patricia continues to move to the northeast across the Gulf of Mexico. In the forecast for tonight, conditions will be partly cloudy.
To end the news, the main points. Office of the Public Defender launches probe into circumstances that caused the deaths of 18 newborns at 2 hospitals.
Opposition senators threaten to withdraw from CCJ debate due to suspension of Senator Marlene Malahoo Fort.
Political analyst Kevin O'Brien Chang says Jamaica too obsessed with the Privy Council when there are more pressing matters to attend to.
And deputy superintendent among 3 members of the JCF charged with murder of 2 brothers in 2001.
That's your 5 o'clock news roundup. I'm Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.
The evening edition is next.
Talk 93 FM, heard everywhere.
Tune in to Newstalk 93 FM weekdays from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. for Prime Time's leading current affairs program, The Evening Edition. Join host Lambert Brown on Monday to Wednesday and Garfield Higgins on Thursdays and Fridays as they boldly tackle the topical issues of the day the Newstalk way. That's The Evening Edition on Newstalk 93 FM. Real news, real talk, heard everywhere.